In this video, we will take a look at two new assignment features, variation and multiple attempts. Variation allows for different students to experience different versions of an assignment to ensure academic integrity, and multiple attempts allow students to retake assignments to improve their score and learn from their mistakes. Now let's take a look at how it works. Let's start by taking a look at variation. So I'm going to create a writing assignment. I'm going to title it. And then now I'm going to click this checkbox here saying create different assignment versions for different students. So this allows you to create multiple different versions here that will be assigned to different students to ensure that not all students are taking the same version of the assignment. So what you can do here is enter in different details for each individual version of the assignment. So let's say I want students with version A to write an article on the environment. Students with version B to write an essay on technology, and students with version C to write. Now I can also click this button here to copy from previous version and then just change that here. So let's say I also want them to write an essay, but this time on travel. Let's regenerate this. There. And as usual, I can add like a word limit, vocabulary, and grammar. And if I want this to be slightly different, I can also change that between versions. Now that I've made my different versions here, I can go over here and choose what method to assign those students. How do you want to assign those students different versions? So you can do randomly, where students are just randomly assigned one of these versions, or you can do it manually, and you can manually choose which version each student gets. So if you know two students tend to sit next to each other or may cheat off of each other, then you can manually assign them different versions and then randomly assign the rest of them. And if your course has different sections, is divided into different sections, you also have an option to assign them per section so that each section gets a specific version. So let's launch the assignment. So on the assignment page here, we see all the different versions of the assignment. And if you want to change which students are assigned which version, you can click over here and edit them. Now here, looking at a completed writing assignment, we see here in the submissions tab that the student submissions are marked by which version they received. And then we can go ahead and click on one of these submissions and view the results as per that version. So we see this version's details are over here. All other details, such as performance insights, are common across all different students and all different versions. So you're able to see details about the student no matter which version they got, which is a good way to see these all in one spot. And now for orals, you can do the same thing. You can create different versions, and depending on which format you choose, you can customize each component, each of these fields for each version. Now for reading, writing, grammar quiz, and vocab quiz assignments, instead of versions, you have banks. So when you're creating one of these assignments, you can choose from these different variation options, such as passage bank, which is a bank of different passages that students can be assigned. And each passage has its own set of questions. So students will be assigned different passages randomly. And for listening assignments, this is an audio bank. Then you also have question bank, which is within those passages or audios, the individual questions that students get. And then you also have the options to shuffle question order and shuffle answer choice order. So let's create a passage set here. And use a passage bank and create 4 passages, and each student will get 2 of the 4. And let's do a question bank as well. And let's shuffle answer choices. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in these 4 passages here. Okay, now that I've created 4 different passages here, I'm going to go to the reading builder. And these 4 passages are going to generate. So now we see these 4 passages have generated. We see that we've set it to be that each student gets 2 of these 4 passages. So if we want all students to receive one of the passages, no matter which version they get, we can click this button here to pin it. So this will guarantee that all students see this version, and then for one of the passages, and then the other 3 will be assigned at random to the students. We can also choose a question bank here, which let's first generate our questions. Let me generate 8 questions. So now that we have 8 questions here, we can choose how many each student will get. So if each student gets 4 of the 8 questions, that means students will be randomly assigned 4 from these 8 questions. And if we want all students to receive a specific question no matter what, we can pin the questions like this. And then of course you have this shuffle answer choices option, which if that's checked, then different students will see these answer choices in a different order. And now if you choose to not have a question bank, you also have the option to shuffle question order. So if all students get all the questions, you can shuffle the question order so that all students will have the question order mixed up. So now I'm going to go ahead and generate the questions for the rest of the passages. And now you'll see here I generated 4 questions, but if the question bank number is greater than that, then you'll see it glows red here because this has to be fixed. So because a student cannot receive more questions than there are. So I'm going to make this 2 here. Another thing you'll notice here is that this number over here next to the passage name is glowing red. So another rule is that point totals for all non-pinned passages have to be equal, because a student could get any of them at random, so they have to add up to the same number no matter no matter which student submission it is. So this is red because we haven't gotten to these passages yet, but for non-pinned passages we have to make sure that the point numbers are the same. So when we go to generate the next one, the next passage, we have to make sure that's also worth the same number of points. Now you can make it have more questions, but you just have to make sure the point totals add up to the same. So now this one is a total of 5 points, but what we can do here is go back to this one here and then just change some of the points to higher numbers to make it reach that amount. Another thing is we have to make sure all questions have the same point values if we're doing a question bank as well. And if we want to get around that, we can just pin the question here. And then let's do the same for this one. So now let's go back and finish up the other passages. So now that I've finished setting up all the questions, we can click Save and Publish here and choose the publish settings and then publish the assignment. And then now here on the assignment screen, we see the details about variation here, and then the reading itself with all the details about the banks, as well as which questions are required. And if we need to change anything, we can change it in Reading Builder over here. So as I mentioned earlier, grammar quizzes, vocab quizzes, reading and listening assignments all can use this variation option for banks and other shuffling options. So here we see a grammar quiz which has a question bank where students will get 6 out of these 15. And we also have the option here to shuffle the question order if we would like. And so the same goes for vocab quizzes, and listening assignments operate just like reading assignments, where you can shuffle the audios as well as the questions, as well as question order and answer choice order. Additionally, in Linguaverse, if you're looking for assignments to use that have banks or other types of variation, you can filter by that option here. If you scroll down here and click versions and banks, and you can see assignments that have banks, or for writing and orals, there'll be versions. So if you want to do an exam or a quiz where you're making sure that different students will see different versions of the assignment. So now the other part of this video is about another feature called multiple attempts. So this allows students to retake assignments multiple times and see different options, such as just a score only or just a score and response between attempts, to make sure when they're retaking the attempts they don't know all the answers, so they can give it their best shot again and learn from their mistakes. So let's take a look at this. Now, all of these different assignments, except chat and voice chat, all the scored for accuracy assignments have an option for attempts. For example, let's take a look at oral. So over here, after we filled in all the information here, we can scroll down here to below result visibility to multiple attempts. So if we want the student to take it multiple times, we can click on, and we can choose how many different attempts we want. So let's say we want 3 attempts, and then the final scoring method. So let's say we want to take the highest score. So this is the highest score of all the student attempts. You can also do average score or the latest score. And then there's between attempt visibility. So this is what you want the students to see between attempts before they finish their final attempt. So you can either choose to show nothing, so they literally see nothing, not even the score, after they finish an attempt, or you can do score only, so then they'll know if they want to take it again or not, but they won't see any response or feedback. You can show the score and their own response, but no corrections or any sort of feedback at all. If they want to review their work, but not they won't know uh, what they got correct or what they got wrong. And then full results, which is just like the final results, every single thing, including corrections and feedback. So you can choose which one, and then students will automatically see the full results and for the last attempt, and also all the previous attempts after their final attempt. And they'll also have the option to forfeit attempts if they feel like they're done with their attempts. Then they don't want to take any more additional attempts. They can forfeit them and then see their full results, but then they won't be able to take any more after that. And then if you want to still limit when students are able to see their final results, you can use this result visibility setting over here, and you can set it to a custom date, or you can set it to the due date here. So this will control when students can even see those final results, um, even after they finish all their attempts. So if you set it to due date, even if students finish all of their attempts or forfeit their attempts before the due date, they still won't be able to see their full results until this time, until the due date. Or you can set it to manual, and then the students will only see their full results when you click the release button manually. So that's how this works. So this assignment here is a different assignment that already has attempts implemented. So we see that it's 2 attempts and then the average is kept. So let's take a look at a submission here. So this is what the results screen looks like for students with multiple attempts. So you see here, this is the kept score and this is the method. So the average was taken, and then we can see the individual attempts over here. So the first time the student got a 2 out of 5, the second time they got a 3 out of 5. And then now the average score that's kept is 2.5 because that's the average. And then we can look at their responses each time and see how they did. And then the general feedback is here. This is for the entire submission, not in each individual attempt, but for all the submissions, all the attempts combined. And if we want to change anything, like change the final score or change the individual attempt score or any of the point values in the questions themselves, we can do that. And if you want to delete one of their attempts to open it up back for them, if they exhausted all their attempts, you can just click this button over here and say delete attempts for submission. You can either delete the entire submission, or you can choose which attempt to delete and then delete that. And if you want to change any details or any of the options about for multiple attempts, you can just go to quick settings and change any of that over here. Now here's another assignment. This is a writing assignment with unlimited attempts and the highest attempt is kept. So let's take a look at a student submission here. So this student made only 2 attempts, and then you see this exclamation mark button here. This shows that the student forfeited the remaining attempts to view the results. And then the highest scores is kept. So the first time they got 11, second time they got a 9, and the 11 was taken. So we can see the results. And then now in the submission options, we can delete this one of the submissions, but we can also reopen remaining attempts. So because the student forfeited their result, their remaining attempts, which is unlimited in this case, because they want to see their final results. If we want to open up an attempt, if we want the student to get more attempts, or if the student is asking to attempt it another time, what we have to do is go here and click reopen remaining attempts and reopen them. So now we see it doesn't say 2 of 2, it just says 2. So the student can continue taking as many attempts as they want, since this is set to unlimited attempts. So that wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching.